I've made well over 6 figures of profit selling used clothes on sites like eBay, Poshmark, and Mercari. And here's the thing, it's not just about working harder or getting lucky. Now you might be wondering, what do successful resellers know that you don't? The truth? They're using specific strategies in how they source, and how they list, and how they grow that most resellers completely overlook. And today, I'm gonna show you exactly what those strategies are. So stick around because I'm gonna be breaking down 5 things that top resellers do differently that allow them to make $50, $100, even $200 per sale on items you're probably passing over. And make sure that you stay to the end because I've got something that's gonna shortcut this whole process for you. All right, so you might be wondering who I am. My name is Lee Meyer if we have not met yet, and I'm a stay-at-home mom of 4. Like I've said, I've made well over $100,000 net profit flipping used clothes. And I'm here to help as many resellers as I can be able to hit that $100,000 mark for themselves. Now, before we dive on in, I do want to take a second to invite you to grab some of my freebies. I've got things like my best brands list, my list of keywords, as well as a free $100,000 reseller challenge, as well as a free reseller bootcamp. All of those freebies you're gonna find down here in the description below this video. Now, before we go ahead and get started, if you take away one thing from this video, let it be this. Successful resellers aren't just lucky. They're not all living in big cities or sourcing designer brands every single day. Their success is strategic. It comes from knowing how to spot value and how to sell it the right way. And the best part, you can build this kind of success too, no matter where you live or what brands you have access to. So let's get started. All right, so 5 things that top resellers do differently. Number 1, they reverse comp. It's not about a race to the bottom. Most resellers search sold listings and they filter by the lowest price or just the sales that have come in recently. And that can be a big mistake. Successful resellers actually look at the highest sold first. Then they ask, why did it sell for this much? Why did it sell for $80 when others sold for $20? And they study those top listings. They look at the photos, they look at the titles, the item specifics. And that's what I call reverse comping. And it's how you figure out what buyers are willing to pay more for. And this can really pay off when it comes time to go sourcing, knowing those items that are selling for the most money. For example, this is Tommy Bahama. These are the recent sales. You're seeing $6, $7, another pair of shorts there that went for $6. That's not exactly helpful, right? Except to know what not to source. So to do reverse comping, all you need to do is change how the items are sorted. Right now, they're just sorted by recently ended, so switch that over to the highest price first. It's price, highest to lowest if you're on eBay, but you can really do this on any platform. Now, you're gonna see a lot of listings that are lots or sets of items, and I'll show you how to get rid of those here in a second from your search result. But you're already starting to see some patterns appear in these listings that sold for $100, $200 and more. You're seeing various Disney themes. You're seeing those various patterns. Now you do need to double check these prices because sometimes what's shown here, if you're on eBay, isn't always the actual selling price. And I do have a video I'll link to up here that's gonna walk you through how to see exactly how much these items sold for. But by going through this process of reverse comping and actually looking at those highest prices first, you're gonna pretty quickly see which keywords, designs, patterns, different types of fabrics, different types of items, which ones are going to sell for more. Now, to get rid of those lots and clean up the search results a little bit, all you have to do is type comma and then minus lot, and this is going to get rid of all of the listings that have the word lot in them. And this at least works for eBay as well as Google and most major search engines. However, this does not work on Poshmark, which is a little bit unfortunate. The second thing that top resellers do differently, they use value keywords. Top resellers will never title a listing just made well, top, size, medium. Instead, they'll use phrases that sell, different styles, aesthetics, materials, fabrics, and features. These are what I call value keywords, and they attract buyers who are shopping by those different styles, those different vibes, those different looks. And that's how they can command higher prices, even on items that might not seem worth a whole lot at first glance. This is an example of one where the seller actually didn't even bother to waste space in the title with the brand, which no one would probably have searched for anyways. It's a brand that's called Paris Line, if I'm reading it right, but notice what they did fill their title with. All kinds of different style, aesthetic-based keywords, 90s, Y2K, whimsy goth, fairy, and just goth. This dress alone sold for $175, full asking price. And yes, that price was verified in Terapeak. Now, I do have another video where I go more in depth on these different aesthetic types of keywords that are trending. I'm gonna link to it up here, as well as I do have a guide that covers 80 plus different aesthetic keywords like this. Another example of value-based keywords are materials. This is an example where a low-value brand sold for a pretty good profit of $50 after picking it up for just a couple of bucks. Why? Because of the details of both leather trim as well as canvas. When you know how to spot details like these, features like these that appeal to buyers, that buyers are willing to pay a premium for, you can make more money on every single sale. This is one that is very similar to the one that I mentioned that I sold for $50 after picking it up for just a couple of bucks. Unfortunately, I didn't have those pictures of the exact item anymore, but this one is pretty much the same exact thing in a very similar condition. All right, next example. There's tons of different premium materials. We mentioned leather and canvas, but there's so many more. Linen and hemp and silk and merino wool that buyers pay more for. But there's another thing that a lot of resellers forget about, and that's fabrics. How those different materials are blended together. What is not on the tag? Materials are on the tag, fabrics are not. A good example here is moleskin. That's one type of fabric that buyers usually pay up for. And it's a little bit hard to see here in this picture, but moleskin has a very similar feeling to velvet. It's a little bit stiffer. There's a little bit less drape to the fabric, meaning it holds its shape a little bit more. And this is an example of basically a no-name brand that sold for $400. It's also from approximately the 70s, which helps. And you can pretty quickly get a good idea on the age of this item from the tag where it says samphire, referring to the process of being samphirized. And you're gonna see this on a lot of older tags. By the way, I do have a video where I walk you through how to date vintage items. I'm gonna link to up here, as well as I have a fabrics guide and poster. Again, fabrics are what are not on the tags. I'm gonna link to the fabrics guide as well as poster down here in the description below this video. All right, number 3, what successful resellers know that you don't. They know brands, and not just mainstream brands. Successful resellers have a deep brand knowledge, but it's not just the obvious ones like Free People or Lululemon. They know niche brands, boutique labels, even discontinued brands that are still in high demand. They'll spot a small outdoor gear brand, a local artisan label, or a rare vintage designer that most resellers pass right over. And that's where a lot of profit is hidden. This is a tiny company based out of Canada called Tuxie that is specifically known for their one-piece sweatsuits. These are selling for about $65 to $100. This is one that I picked up for a few dollars and turned around and sold it for $85. And while you might be saying, that's an obscure brand, I'll never find that. There are tons and tons of different obscure brands like this. The best part, Thrift stores don't even recognize a lot of these more obscure brands or smaller brands, and they either don't mark them up or don't even put them on the floor in the first place. And if it's a Goodwill, they end up at their Goodwill outlets, aka the bins, where you can pick them up for just a few bucks. And every single sourcing trip, it's not uncommon to come home with a whole handful of these different types of items from these more obscure brands. Now this next one, this is a brand that should be known by resellers, but a lot of times resellers just stick to the big names. And this is a sweater that was just left in the bins. If you've been to a Goodwill outlet, you'll see resellers move in as soon as a bin is brought out like a bunch of vultures. They're in, they're out in a matter of a few minutes, and there's always good stuff left behind. And this is an example of one of those items. And I have found tons of items like this, $100 profit items that they're just leaving behind. This is a cardigan sweater from Peruvian Connections, and it's sold for the full asking price of $100. This next one is a cycling company that had a really good following. And again, this is just an example, and there are tons of brands like this. They had a good following, built up their customer base, but they went out of business and are now defunct, shut down. And actually what happens is the price of these items can go way up. They sell faster than they ever have before because the supply goes down. There's not more new items being made. Now, this particular brand has been gone for a couple of years, but the demand is still there, and these items sell fast. Items from this brand are selling for $30 to $150, especially ones that were done as a collaboration with Pendleton. This is a pair of men's cycling leggings that sold for $100. And again, tons of brands just like this that are no longer in existence, but the demand is still there, and the demand just keeps skyrocketing. Number 4. Top resellers know how to source better. They know how to spot value that others miss. High earners don't just rely on brand names to find profit. They know how to spot value in materials like linen and wool, in timeless styles, in craftsmanship, while others pass over an unbranded leather bag, an artsy sweater, or a worn out coat. They see the value. They see $50, $100, $200 sales. Sourcing isn't necessarily about finding trendy labels. It's about recognizing what will sell high no matter the brand. And to be honest, this is the thing that took me from a failing reseller thinking I had nothing good around me to flip because I live in a small town, and I started thinking outside the box and realizing that there are so many profitable things right around me that buyers are willing to pay good money for. This is a pair of mall brand jeans, and I spotted these after every other reseller had passed them over. They've got laces up the side, flare legs, low rise, paid a couple of bucks, turned around and sold them for $90. It did take a little while to sell, but definitely worth getting that full sale price. This is another example where not only every other reseller passed it over, but they actually picked it up and threw the item like it was junk. This was at the bins without them even taking a second look at what the item was. Instead of picking up an item that could have made them $70, they were hoping to grab items to make $20. This dress actually sat there for quite some time before I could make it around to it. I picked it up, realized it wasn't a bed sheet, which I initially thought it was, and I realized it was a Hawaiian dress. Picked it up for a couple of bucks, turned around and sold it for $70. And this is another one that just sat there. If you're a bins shopper, it doesn't have to be a fight, you guys. There's literal profit just sitting there. So while others are fighting over Lululemon, you can be grabbing up the real profit if you know what to look for. This is a very small, lesser known brand of wedding gowns, I believe made in Australia. This is a category that can be a little bit hard to sell in, but the payoff potential is definitely worth it. All that to say, I grabbed this one for a few dollars and sold it full price, $147 plus shipping to Spain. Number 5, top resellers niche down to scale up. High earners don't typically list a little bit of everything. They focus on categories where they have knowledge, where they can move items quickly. Think super specific, brand tees, vintage boots, ski wear. By narrowing their focus, they get faster sales and can scale their business more efficiently. An example here, band tees. There's tons to know here and so many bands from every different genre. These can sell for into the thousands depending on the bands. Even smaller bands can do well. Some of the more common ones that you're gonna see are AC/DC, Grateful Dead, Nirvana. This is a t-shirt from Steely Dan, and this one sold for $100 on best offer. Vintage boots, another really good example of niching down. Again, tons to know here within this category. Lots of different styles that are selling, from workwear to motorcycle to cowboy boots. And these can be some really good money. This is actually the topic of this month's sourcing box. If it's past this month when the video gets released, I have new topics every single month. Deep dives into profitable clothing niches. Now, this is a boot from a smaller boot company called Littles, and I love the look of this one. Definitely a unique design. Colorful, it's got a really nice pattern to it. It's got a little bit of cracking there in the leather, a little bit of wear on the bottom, but this one sold for $400 after a best offer. And again, I'm covering vintage boots in this month's sourcing box, where I'm uncovering the one construction detail that can make all the difference in resale value, helping you spot flips just like this one. I'm also covering the unexpected vintage boot style that's exploding right now, and so much more. I'll tell you how to get access for free here in just a second, but I've got another example for you of niching down, and this is ski wear. There's so much money to be made here in both current items as well as older items. And this is a ski suit from Obermeyer. This one sold for the full asking price of $180, and it sold in the middle of summer, which is exactly why I never recommend hanging on to things for the right season. You're probably not going to make any more money doing that, and there's a good chance that you could get overwhelmed with a death pile that's not making you any money. Instead, get those things listed and get money coming in. Now, if you're sitting here thinking, I want to source like that, but I don't know where to start, that's exactly why I created my Empowered Reseller VIP membership. Every month, VIPs get free access to my monthly sourcing boxes. These are deep dives into profitable clothing niches where I teach you how to spot value and how to be successful wherever you live. Plus, as a member, you get access to my entire course vault, our VIP community, Q&A days, listing reviews, and live trainings. If you're ready for success, if you're ready for business level income, the Empowered Reseller membership program is your shortcut. I'm gonna drop the link for it in the description below this video so you can check it all out. Now, I hope this video has been helpful, that you're able to spot high profit items when you're out sourcing. Go ahead and drop in the comments what has been the most helpful for you in this video, what the takeaway is for you. Now, maybe you're a new reseller or you've been at it for a while and you're wondering why your things aren't selling. Then make sure to stick around for this next video where I'm gonna help you turn things around and get sales coming in. See you there.